Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Manoj Singh Rana, and with me is Nishit Kumar, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. India calls on Myanmar leadership to work together to resolve their differences in peaceful and constructive manner. New Delhi says it has not conceded any territory as a result of agreement with China. US President Joe Biden revokes national emergency order used to fund Mexico border wall project. China bars BBC World News from its television networks. Mekong River Commission says water levels in Mekong River falls to worrying level, puts the blame on outflow restrictions from Chinese hydropower dams upstream. Indian film Bittu shortlisted in Oscars live action short film category. And in cricket, second test match between India and England to begin in Chennai on Saturday. India has called on leadership of Myanmar to work together to resolve their differences in peaceful and constructive manner. Permanent representative of India to the UN at UNHRC, Indramani Pandey, said recent developments in Myanmar are a matter of deep concern as they will affect the progress of democracy in Myanmar. He asserted that restoring democratic order should be the priority of all stakeholders in Myanmar, and the international community must lend constructive support to the people of Myanmar. Mr. Pandey said India has been steadfast in support to the process of democratic transition in Myanmar. He told that hopes and aspirations of people of Myanmar have been dealt a blow by latest developments, and India strongly believes that the rule of law must be upheld and detained political leaders released. The permanent representative of India to the UN said that the right to protest peacefully is an integral part of democratic ethos. Meanwhile, protests against the military government in Myanmar continued on Friday, even as supporters of the ousted state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi clashed with the police. Mass protests were mostly peaceful but were the largest so far, according to reports. Police charged at protesters after they threw stones at them. Doctors marked their support to the civil disobedience movement by marching in their white coats past the Shwedagon Pagoda in Yangon. Protests were also held in front of the Russian embassy in Yangon. The protesters chanted slogans asking Russia and China to stop supporting Myanmar's military. Meanwhile, the military government in Myanmar moved ahead with its investigation of the alleged election fraud. It has arrested several members of the former Union Election Commission, UEC, which was responsible for the November the 8th national elections last year. In another development, the United States has announced a series of executive actions against the military government and organizations associated with the February 1st coup in Myanmar. The U.S. Department of the Treasury announced sanctions against 10 individuals and 3 entities connected to the military coup in Myanmar. The U.S. government also announced it is implementing restrictions on the exports of sensitive items to Myanmar Ministry of Defense, Home Affairs, Armed Forces, and security forces.
United States President Joe Biden has revoked the national emergency order used to fund former President Donald Trump's Mexico border wall project. In a letter to Congress on Thursday, Biden wrote that the order was unwarranted and said that no further tax dollars will be spent on the wall. The announcement is the latest in a series of executive orders from President Biden that would roll back key parts of the former president's agenda. In 2019, President Trump had declared a state of emergency over the southern border, which had allowed him to bypass Congress and use military funds for its construction. China has banned UK's BBC World News from its television networks on Friday. Hong Kong's public broadcaster said it would stop relaying BBC World Service Radio a week after Britain revoked Chinese state television's broadcast license. Meanwhile, British Foreign Minister Dominic Raab called the ban an unacceptable curtailing of media freedom. The Mekong River Commission (MRC) said on Friday that water levels in the Mekong River have fallen to a worrying level, in part due to outflow restrictions from Chinese hydropower dams upstream. The MRC has called on Beijing to share all of its water data. The River Commission said that normal conditions may be restored if large volumes of water are released from the Chinese dams' reservoirs.
India has supplied a total of 22.97 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to the global community under the Vaccine Maitri initiative as on date. Addressing the media in New Delhi, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said that of these 6.47 million doses have been supplied as grant, while 16.5 million doses have been supplied on a commercial basis. The countries who have received supplies of vaccines as gifts include Bangladesh, Myanmar, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Bahrain, Oman, Afghanistan, Barbados and Dominica.
As of date, we have supplied a total of 129.7 lakh doses to the global community. Of these, 64.7 lakh doses have been supplied as grant, while 165 lakh doses have been supplied on a commercial basis.
Mr. Srivastava said that India will continue to take forward the global vaccine supply initiative and cover more countries in a phased manner. In the coming weeks, vaccines will be supplied to more countries in Africa, Latin America, CARICOM and Pacific Island states. Meanwhile, over 7.5 million people have been administered COVID-19 vaccine in India so far. The Health Ministry said India was the fastest country to cross the 70 lakh vaccination mark. In the last 24 hours, nearly 500,000 healthcare workers were vaccinated. The number of beneficiaries being vaccinated every day is showing progressive increase.
In response to a request from the government of Syria for emergency humanitarian assistance, India is gifting 2,000 metric tons of rice to strengthen food security in Syria. The first consignment of 1,000 metric tons of rice was handed over by Ambassador of India to Syria on Thursday at Latakia port. The remaining 1,000 metric tons of rice is expected to reach Syria in the next week. Morocco received second batch of 4 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines manufactured by India's Serum Institute on Thursday. Said Afif, a member of the Health Ministry's Scientific Committee, said this new batch would enable a steady continuation of Morocco's national vaccination campaign.
Now let us take a look at the coronavirus updates across the globe. The United States said on Thursday that it is not currently considering any new domestic air travel restrictions to fight the coronavirus. The United Kingdom will set out its roadmap for easing lockdown restrictions on February 22nd, Junior Home Office Minister Victoria Atkins said on Friday. Chancellor Angela Merkel urged Germans on Thursday to have a little more patience after agreeing with regional leaders to extend a coronavirus lockdown until March the 7th. Merkel added that restrictions would not last a day longer than necessary. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said on Friday that the country's COVID-19 vaccination program will likely begin on February 20th. In Australia, authorities ordered a snap 5-day lockdown in Melbourne on Friday to contain a new coronavirus outbreak. The government has said that the Australian Open tennis tournament would continue, but spectators will now be banned from attending the event, which was seeing around 300,000 people at the matches each day. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
The Defence Ministry of India said that New Delhi has not conceded any territory as a result of an agreement with China. The minister said, on the contrary, it has enforced observance and respect for the line of actual control (LAC) and prevented any unilateral change in the status quo. The ministry reiterated that the factual position has already been clearly communicated by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in both the Houses of Parliament. It said Defence Minister's statement also made it clear that there are outstanding problems to be addressed, including at Hot Springs, Gogra and Depsang. The outstanding issues are to be taken up within 48 hours of the completion of the Pangong Tso disengagement. In our Hotspot segment today, we'll bring you a discussion on India-China disengagement in eastern Ladakh, with defense expert Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni.
Good evening. We have General Kulkarni with us tonight. And General Kulkarni, we will be talking about the recent developments along the line of actual control with China in eastern Ladakh. The Raksha Mantri yesterday in Parliament made a very balanced statement saying that the withdrawal will be in phases. The first phase will be about withdrawing from north bank and south bank of the Pangong Tso Lake in eastern Ladakh. The remaining phases will be done within 48 hours, or discussions will start within 48 hours of the first phase. And he also spoke about how the withdrawal will be verified on ground before we move further. General Kulkarni, how do you see the development?
A cautious optimism, but a welcome step, because for the last about 10 months, the tension has been quite high, and hopefully China should walk the talk. If China does not walk the talk, then all along what we've been saying, that we cannot trust China, it would be proved. So it is a welcome step, and I would see that the tensions which were there along the LAC, it would help minimize, and I was glad to see that at least the armor elements have started pulling back, and that's the first step that the Chinese have done, and simultaneously we have also done. So it's kind of getting into your own positions by both the sides simultaneously. So that's a very good step that we have done. However, as I said again, a cautious optimism, and in phase one, as what the Raksha Mantri said, that it would be for the Penyang Tso area, that is both north and south Penyang Tso, and primarily the north Penyang Tso, where he insisted that finger 4 and finger 8, that is the area, and the areas that he mentioned was Dancing Thapa. That's where the post office of ours is. And he said east of finger 8, it could be Sirajap 2, 1 or Konak 4, doesn't matter as long as it's east. And therefore, I think it was very nicely think, very well said, very well agreed upon. The disengagement does not concede any area of ours, and we are actually emphasizing again and again on the fact that what we said, our perception in the LAC is a perception. Our claim lines and our area is far beyond. But as of now, the LAC runs along finger 8 for us.
To explain to the listeners what the fingers mean, the fingers are actually spurs of the mountain which end at the north bank of the Pangong Tso. The Pangong Tso is a 135-kilometer wide glacial mud lake. General Kulkarni, I'll take you northwards towards Gogra Hot Springs in Depsang. How do you see the developments in Depsang? How crucial will the demilitarization of Depsang mean for us? Because Depsang, anything happening in Depsang can hamper the DSDBO road, the DBO airfield, and also some parts of Siachen. How do you see that, sir?
I think what you said actually hit the nail on the head. You know, in phase one, what the Raksha Mantri spoke about was the Penyang Tso, after which every step will be verified, and after the verification and the disengagement that would have taken place at Penyang Tso, within 48 hours, the other friction point, like you rightly said, Hot Spring, Gogra, and the Depsang would be undertaken. Now, as regards the Depsang that you're specifically asking about is, Depsang is an old disputed area where the Chinese were hindering with a patrolling flight. Now, what happened first, earlier it happened in 2002, and subsequently it happened in 2013, where there was a 20-day face-off, and then the erstwhile Prime Minister underwent, he did sign a treaty, what is called the Border Defense Cooperation Agreement 2013, and in which it was very clearly stated in Article 6 and Article 8 that firstly, the Article 6 which said no tailing of patrol. That means the patrols will not be tailed. Article 8 said a self-restraint will be imposed. This was with a view to have peace and tranquility. You're absolutely right. Depsang still continues to be a thing which would have to be discussed in detail. However, in phase 1, Penyang Tso, and subsequent phases will be Depsang, where what the Chinese are doing are hindering us patrolling to patrol point 10, 11, 11A, 12, 13. So hopefully that should also get resolved.
To explain to the listeners, these patrolling points numbers are actually the routes decided by the China Study Group on where the patrol parties will go. These are pre-decided routes. General Kulkarni, when we talk about Ladakh, the LAC in eastern Ladakh, it starts at the east of the Karakoram Pass and ends at Dame Chowk in southeastern Ladakh. Sir, how do you see there are disputed areas, demarcated disputed areas in northern part and southern part? Are these intrusions or are these face-offs, to correct myself, these face-offs which have happened in eastern Ladakh now, are they in any manner China's attempt to unilaterally change the alignment of the LAC, which is anyway undemarcated?
See, it is primarily because of that. The whole thing is It started off, China was never a neighbor. It was Tibet that was our neighbor. And from 1950, after the People's Republic of China, Mao Zedong, that they decided they have captured Tibet, they have captured Xinjiang province, and thereafter now China has become our neighbor. It is when they became our neighbor, it was their perception. They thought they were center of the universe and they could do whatever wanting to do. And slowly and steadily, they capture in 1962 and earlier also slowly and steadily until by 1962, we'd already lost what even the Raksha Mantri has accepted it to say that we lost 38,000 square kilometers, followed by about 5,165 kilometers being exceeded by Pakistan to China, and they're further claiming another 90,000 square kilometers of Arunachal Pradesh. So China has been claiming whatever it be so. And therefore, to say that this is our claim line, the entire Aksai chain is ours. There's no denying the fact, but the fact is right now it is the LAC that matters. And the line of actual control, what we've been saying along, what you rightly said, it comes along from Karakoram and goes up to Depchok along that way. And that is where the perception problems are there. And that is why the various agreements are there in place to ensure that the translations do not result in firefight. It does not result in a fist fight. That is it.
General Kulkarni, since you've spoken about the agreements, one of the three key principles which India stresses both sides should strictly respect the LAC. All pacts must be fully abided with, and neither side should attempt to alter the status unilaterally. So when we talk about all pacts to be fully abided with, I am sure the Chinese were in violation of all the pacts which we have signed since 1993, including the BDCA which was in 2013, and the previous ones which talked about how the border management will be done, including the Border Management Protocol of 2005. So these pacts have to be sacrosanct. How do you see those?
The Chinese perception of the LAC and our perception of the LAC seems to differ, and therefore you find that much that we must agree, like what the Raksha Mantri said, we must strictly observe and respect the LAC. If we do not respect the LAC, then the translations will take place, and in which again, and once the translations take place, then that means you have violated the agreement, you have also violated the status quo which is required to be maintained. And if the status quo has been altered and the agreements have gone to the wind, like in the till what we have done till yesterday, the agreements had gone to the wind. Despite all the agreements that had been signed between India and China, what did they do? They violated the agreements. Even when we talk about finger 8, finger 4, I do hear a lot of people talking about if nobody came in, why are we saying they're going back? It is incorrect. It is all these kind of statements that are being made by people who probably are not aware of the ground reality. If you are aware of the ground reality, then nobody would make such a statement to say that if they have not come, why are we saying they have gone back? It is like we were allowed and we were patrolling up to finger 8. That is our perception of the LAC. They were also coming up to finger 4. That is their perception of the LAC. And therefore, now what has happened as per the new agreement, we are gone to Dhansing Post, which is our post. They have gone east of the finger 8, and therefore between finger 4 and finger 8, there will be no patrolling till such time some peace and tranquility or agreements come into that effect to ensure that peace and no friction takes place. So these are all agreements. Supposing after this agreement, any one of us were to violate it, that is what is wrong. That is why the Raksha Mantri is saying that we must respect the LAC and the status quo must not be altered.
General Kulkarni, the military, of course, we have spoken very eloquently. Mr. Rajnath Singh and the Foreign Affairs Minister of S. Jaishankar were in Moscow in October. There were face-to-face meetings with the Chinese counterparts out there in Moscow over these very issues. There was talk about de-escalation. Sir, I'm sure there's a lack of trust, especially at the ground level between the two armies. How do you see that trust being built up if this goes through? Because I'm saying with a big if this goes through, as you said, the caution is there still. How do you see the trust being built up again?
That is exactly what was worrying everybody. Because there is total lack of trust. Because the Chinese have done what they were not supposed to do. But they did it. They have actually stabbed us in the back, what they did. We have mobilized in such a manner and quick that they did not probably expect that India would react in a manner that they have reacted, resulting in what has happened now, the disengagement by the Chinese, because they thought there was that shoe more than they could bite. Now, as a result of which, all these things have taken place. Because of this trust deficiency that exists, thank God that at least in part of the disengagement, now we find the armor columns are moving back, we'll find the people will start moving back, we'll find the infrastructure has been done away with, all the areas of dispute. This is primarily to ensure that at least as I see, we have all along ensured and abided by the agreements that have been signed between the two countries. It was China which had violated. Now it is the responsibility of Chinese to ensure that they sort of come up in a manner that they, at least their actions should show that we can trust them. Because trust we must, but verify we must. Trust but verify. And that is what I would say for the Chinese.
General Kulkarni, all of us who cover these strategic affairs know that the terrain on the Chinese side is very simple. It's a flat Tibetan plateau, they can deploy very quickly. On our side, the terrain is not so friendly to us, and we will need to cross at least 2-3 high mountain passes just to get the equipment back there at the locations. How do you see this scenario building up if China comes back again? Will it surprise us? How do you see that threat being tackled by the Indian Army?
See, firstly, mountains favor the defender. And therefore, the Indians are on a very, very dominating position wherever they are. And certain places, like when we talk of Pangangsho, it's almost an infantry battle that would take place at Pangangsho. When we talk about, say, Chushul area, the Sangur Gap, again, it is infantry and mechanized. But at Depsang, it's primarily the mechanized, which is going to be in a large measure. So with the kind of technology that we have and the kind of equipment that we have today, it is not going to be easy. The Chinese are aware of it, that they cannot, it is not 62, number one. Secondly, we have far more capacity building has risen so much, and the way the Indian troops have actually shown themselves with the kind of determination and the spirit and be able to confront the Chinese itself has put the Chinese in the back foot. But yes, we have to be careful, we have to be vigilant, we cannot take China for granted, and we must not be lulled into complacency whatsoever.
The last few hours have been very crucial in India-China relations. We have started a disengagement process at the Pangong Tso Lake, and the Raksha Mantri, Mr. Rajnath Singh, has informed the Parliament that this will happen in phases. I hope it is going now good. General Kulkarni, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Minister of Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari on Friday launched India's first ever CNG tractor in New Delhi. The CNG tractor will help farmers increase their income by lowering costs and help to create job opportunities in rural India. The conversion from diesel to CNG engine of the tractor was jointly done by Romap Techno Solutions and Tomasetto Ashale India. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Nitin Gadkari said that the CNG-based tractor will help farmers become self-reliant. He said the maintenance cost of this tractor is very low, and the new technology will also reduce air pollution, which happens due to diesel fuel. This is All India Radio, giving you the world news.
Indian short film Bittu is shortlisted in top 10 films on the live action short film category for 93rd Oscar Awards.
Sound of S. English.
तो गया चलो सीधा प्रिंसिपल के ऑफिस में
तब तक तुम सॉरी नहीं बोल रहे थे तुम्हारा आज का खाना बन सुना तुमने
अच्छे बच्चे कैसे होते हैं वेरी गुड अभी आज हम साउंड्स करेंगे ठीक है साउंड ऑफ जी वेरी गुड
Indian filmmakers Shreya and Karishma Dev Dubey are producer and directors of this film. While speaking exclusively to All India Radio, Karishma expressed happiness for nominations and said she's hoping for the best in Academy Awards. Made in India microblogging site Koo has gained momentum. The app was launched in March 2020.
Many Indians have joined the Made in India Koo app. The app is the winner of Atmanirbhar Bharat App Innovation Challenge 2. The app is available in English as well as several other Indian languages. The app has a word limit of 400 characters and it has also the features of sharing updates on WhatsApp and other social media platforms. Talking to All India Radio News, the CEO of Koo app, Apramya Radhakrishna, said that they are truly an Atmanirbhar app and they have ensured that it is safe for its users.
We had the vision to basically give voice to every Indian irrespective of the language they speak. And we truly want to give a voice to every Indian, irrespective of which language you speak. Well, we're a truly Atmanirbhar app. We are based in Bangalore. Our servers are based in India, in Mumbai. And we are building for India. We're building for a use case that is deeper. It will connect all Indians on one platform and make sure that everybody can express themselves freely. We believe in free expression and freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
Since the app is homegrown, the concerns of data privacy too have been put to rest. Diksha Saxena for World News.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press.
Washington Post writes that Biden wants to create millions of clean energy jobs. China and Europe are way ahead of him. The New York Times reports that the British economy shrank by almost 10% in 2020, its deepest recession in more than 3 centuries. According to The Guardian, election officials detained in Myanmar in bid to prove fraud. Sputnik News reports that Moscow is prepared to end the relationship with the European Union if the bloc introduces sanctions that put the Russian economy at risk. Global Times writes, Tokyo 2020 Olympics chief resigns over sexist remarks. The Sydney Morning Herald says doubts about the WHO COVID inquiry fuel China's advantage. Khalij Times writes that Saudi Arabia has asked Islamic countries to wait before making any plans to attend the annual Hajj pilgrimage until there was more clarity over the deadly coronavirus pandemic. Valsa Williams for AIR World News.
Moving on to sports. In cricket, the second test of the 4-match series between India and England will be played from tomorrow at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. Earlier, in the opening test held at the same venue, England trounced India by 227 runs. In tomorrow's test match, Team India will have to change their approach to meet more formidable and disciplined England team if they want to clinch the 4-match series. In tennis, 6th seed Alexander Zverev crushed Adrian Manarino with little fuss on Friday to coast into the Australian Open 4th round. The Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi will be open for the general public from Saturday. The gardens will remain open till the 21st of March and people can visit between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. except on Mondays. As precautionary measures, walk-in entry will not be available this year. Visitors will be allowed to see the gardens only through advance online booking. Visitors have to follow COVID protocols.
Researchers at the Indian Institute of Technology at Chennai have designed and developed a road dust collector that works like a lawnmower to make road cleaning a little less back-breaking. Researchers said that a 2-foot-tall battery-operated prototype machine is equipped with rolling brushes, dust pans and suction fans to clear both fine and coarse particles off roads. It can also be run on solar energy and the machine can run for 8 hours non-stop on 3 batteries. The U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said on Thursday that Washington has profound concerns over China's predatory behavior when it comes to technology. He added that the Biden administration will engage with China when in the interest of the United States. State Department spokesman also said that Washington has concerns about the Chinese Communist Party's activities, including through the Confucius Institutes. In Bangladesh, since health centers witnessed a huge rush of people to receive COVID vaccine, the government has suspended the on-the-spot registration. Earlier, the government had extended the facility for the on-the-spot registration for vaccination to help people who find it difficult to register online. According to the Directorate General of Health Services, DGHS, the total number of people vaccinated till now to over 500,000. Bangladesh has signed an agreement with the Serum Institute of India for the purchase of 30 million doses of the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine. Out of it, 5 million doses arrived in Bangladesh last month. India also gifted 2 million doses of the vaccine to Bangladesh. A quick look at the headlines once again. India calls on Myanmar leadership to work together to resolve their differences in peaceful and constructive manner. New Delhi says it has not conceded any territory as a result of agreement with China. US President Joe Biden revokes national emergency order used to fund Mexico border wall project. China bars BBC World News from its television networks. Mekong River Commission says water levels in Mekong River falls to worrying level, puts the blame on outflow restrictions from Chinese hydropower dams upstream. Indian film Bittu shortlisted in Oscars live action short film category. And in cricket, the second test match between India and England to begin at M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai on Saturday. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Morocco. Vaishnav Jana to teni kahiye bid parayi jani re
स्वाभिमान नारी रे वैष्णव जन तो तेनी कहिए जे वेद पराई जानी रे.
And with that rendition by artists from Morocco of Vaishnav Janto, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.